Welcome to the Personal Trainer Hustle. Personal Trainer Hustle. If you didn't know, you do now.
All right, on today's episode, we're answering one of your questions. So today we have a listener question that was sent in, and it is about being a young female starting off in the personal training world, becoming a personal trainer, and the challenges that may present themselves and how to overcome them when you're in that situation. So that's the question that was sent in. We're going to get into that in a little bit. But first, if you guys have your own question that you want to send in, I will be answering it on an upcoming episode if you send in your question. So you guys can go to personaltrainerhustle.com, and we have a little form there where you can fill in your question, send it in, and soon enough, I turn it into an episode here on the podcast. So make sure you guys, if you have a question, you go in and send it there. I love to get questions and answering them just like today. I do my best to think about it and give you a realistic message from my experience as a personal trainer for 15 years now, being in business, almost a decade now in my own business of personal training. So with that experience, I try to give you guys, the real life scenarios and advice that have happened to me or that I've seen or, had to overcome myself. So that's where I'm coming from. And then those of you guys that follow the podcast, you guys know, I just started an Instagram for the podcast. So you guys it's going to be in the episode bio. So if you click on the episode, you will see a link to Personal Trainer Hustle on Instagram. So if you guys have Instagram, if you want to follow, send me a DM. The first few followers have sent me DMs. I've gotten back to you guys. So those of you guys that haven't done it yet, click the link or just go to Personal Trainer Hustle on Instagram. That is me. And, we can connect that way as well. Maybe you guys can even send in a question there if you feel comfortable just, in the moment sending a question through a DM. I might be able to see that and also get back to you or even turn it into an episode or a post to answer that specific question. So that is what Personal Trainer Hustle is for, is to be a resource specifically around your career, your business of personal training, your sales, marketing of personal training, things in that area, or just experiences that you're having, which is exactly what is going on with today's question, is more about the experience of being a personal trainer, the real situation that I may be running into when I am a personal trainer. So let's get into today's question. Today's question is sent in by Liv Rhodes. I'm not sure if it's live or live, so I apologize, but I'm sure it's Liv Rhodes. And she says, I am a 19-year-old female personal trainer who does freelance work and trains at my gym on campus. It is hard to add clientele as most people think I am, quote unquote, too young to know what I'm talking about, or that I am a female trainer and know nothing. How can I change their opinions of me as a trainer? Okay. This is a very good question. This is something that I've actually talked about with female trainers that I have hired at my gym. So this is actually a very real situation and concern that comes up. So normally I would say, hey, there's no excuses, blah, 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 blah. This is something that I find really does come up often. So Liv, you're not the only one. So I hope that actually, in a way makes you feel a little bit better about the situation right off the bat, that women go through this in the gym. Like I said, I've hired women who go through this. And one of the first things I say is, hey, I hired you, right? I think you're the best for the job. So why are you doubting yourself? And obviously that's easier said than done. That's just something that can just be said, but there is some truth to that. So as we get into today's podcast, I wanted to make sure to kind of hit on a few points that are going to be important in overcoming this. And that is that, in my attempt to answer today's question, and more than anything, to give you just some perspective from my experience, obviously I apologize ahead of time because I don't really know what it's like to be in this scenario, but I appreciate you trusting in me enough to at least ask me the question, which is, A very good thing to do. I think sometimes, we think, well, this person, how would they know? They don't know what I've been through. But, if you would have done that, you'd be falling into a similar mindset that your clients that are making you feel uncomfortable are going through, which is you're making an assumption about me. I couldn't possibly know because I haven't been there, because I don't know. I'm not a woman. I'm not 19, right? So you could have done that, which is exactly what people think. But instead, you decided to, hey, let me just ask. Maybe Sam has some perspective around it. Maybe he has something to add. That mindset is a winner's mindset. That is how you should be thinking. You should be trying to learn from different people and just get their perspective, and you will start to figure out what are some common things that they're all saying, what are some things that they differ in, and what are some things that I actually relate to and connect to more than the others, right? So it just depends, and that's how we gather information. And I give you a lot of credit for reaching out and saying, hey, even though maybe Sam isn't in the same shoes as I am, maybe he has something to contribute. So I wanted to say that and just say thanks for sending that in. I will try my best. Obviously, there will be gaps in my awareness and knowledge. I know that ahead of time, but I am going into it with an understanding of that. And hopefully that helps me kind of clear my thoughts a little bit. The next thing I wanted to say is that in answering it, I am going to just be honest about what I've seen, what I think, and my opinions. Now, sometimes these opinions and the advice that I'm going to give you goes against what I'm supposed to say. Okay. But the reality is, and this is you guys that have been listening long enough, I think that's why you guys connect with the podcast. And I'm never going to be able to change that about how my message comes across. And that is that I think sometimes the biggest issue that we're having is that everybody is trying to censor themselves. Everybody is trying to be politically correct. But here's the issue, you guys, with too much political correctness. If I get on here and try to answer this question and just try to be nice to you, I am not going to help you overcome the issue. And so I believe we live in this world where we're all trying to be so nice that we continue to suffer through our situations because nobody, and we've lost our ability to tell each other the truth, right? Sometimes you have to look at your friend and say, hey, the way you're gaining weight is going to hurt you. Now, I know that hurts your feelings, but because I care about you, I have to bring it up to you, right? So I want you guys to see today's episode, but also maybe, just consider what I'm saying. Maybe some of you guys have fallen into this, like, I need to be nice, I need to be liked. And that's well and good. Like even myself, I always try to say things in the nicest way. There's nothing wrong with that. You want to, obviously, I'm not going to go and tell my friend off because I see that they're going down a bad path. But because I love them, I am going to share my concerns. Now, it's not up to me to tell people what to do. Um, but if you love someone, if you care about someone, sometimes what you have to say is uncomfortable. And so in these situations, when you guys send in questions, those of you guys that kind of have gotten to know me over the last year and a half, you guys know, like, sometimes things just need to be said. And for me, the big reason for that is because if my goal is to help you through something, if my goal is to give you advice so that whatever the issue is no longer the issue, right? That you have to remember why we ask questions and why we're going through situations. When we're going through a situation, when we're asking people for advice, or when we're looking out into the world for some type of direction, remember that what you're trying to do is get through and get on the other side of the situation. Now, if somebody turns around and all they do is tell you what you want to hear, it may feel okay in the moment, but now you're going to have to keep living without solving the issue, and you're going to have to keep dealing with whatever pain that issue is causing. And so sometimes things just need to be said in order for us to actually improve. So I'm just saying all that to say, like, if I say something that at any point, because once I get going, you guys know this, I talk fast and it's just coming, it's coming quick, right? So I'm just letting you guys know that it's all coming from the heart and from my experiences, which is all that I can give you. So, there may be experiences I have not lived that make my opinion short sighted, but there are also things that I have lived that hopefully will give you some insight into maybe a different way of thinking about things. Okay. So, um, the question, just to confirm as we get into it, the question is, you're 19, you do freelance work at your gym and on campus. Um, People think you're either too young or that you're a female and you know nothing. And how can I change their opinions on me as a trainer? Okay. So, one of my answers I think will really hone in on the opinion part. The other ones are just how to begin to change your mindset around it. Um, and also giving you some perspective. That's kind of where I'm going to go with today's episode. I thought about this episode for a few days. I started even kind of rehearsing it in my mind in the car the other day because there's just so many things that we can talk about in this area of age and of thinking that you don't know anything and changing people's perspective of us. These are all very complicated things because sometimes you can change, sometimes you can't change the way people, look at you. I mean, it can get complicated in that area, but I hope by the end of today's episode, I've given you enough ideas and tools and advice and suggestions and examples that you'll be able to take something away from today's episode and help you out. Okay. So, this is the first thing that I'm going to say. It's just the first thing that I wrote down. These are not in any particular order of importance, it's just talking points. Okay. The first thing that we need to consider, and this goes to everybody, is that when we find ourselves in a situation where we feel like people are not respecting us, people are not giving us an opportunity, people are judging us or seeing us in a different way, remember that we all have something to overcome. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the truth about the situation that you find yourself is that it is honest and truthful, but the thing that is a slippery slope is the mindset that begins to build from this. Okay. So, this is what I wanted to address first because it is the most dangerous part of the situation that you may find yourself in when this happens to you. The situation that you may find yourself in is what we call like a victim mentality. And what that means is that you're going to, if you're not careful, you're going to start to think that this is only happening to you, right? You're going to start to think that everyone else has it easy, that if only I was older, if only I was a man, if only I looked a certain way, if only I had gone to school here, if only I had 3 certifications, if only my boss was different, if only my clients were different. And so you start to get into this mentality where, it's what we call like, woe is me, right? I am a victim of this life. I am a victim of this situation. I am a victim in this whole scenario. They don't understand me. They don't respect me. They don't. But what I hope is coming across and you understand is you're starting to fall into this place that is going to be very difficult to come out of, right? A lot of people, even groups in our society, have fallen into what I believe is this trap where you other yourself, right? Just because a few people other you, you accept their truth and embrace their truth, and you start to focus on, kind of making their opinion of you a reality. And we do it to ourselves. Think about this. You have to be really careful with these scenarios because when we start looking at the people that have these opinions of us, we forget about the people that don't. Right? I had this conversation, maybe a year ago with a trainer that I had at the gym who had gone through a very similar thing, and we were talking about it with her, and she said this was, yeah, maybe this was over a year ago. This might be almost 2 years ago, and she said the exact same thing. That's why I know this conversation. I've had it before. She said to me, this person, you know, was asking me questions as if I didn't know anything. This person said, "Oh, I'm just a baby," and they made these remarks. And I said, "Okay." I said, "How many clients do you have?" And she listed out all the clients she had, and I said, "All these people don't believe that. Have you thought about that?" I said, "You have 10, 15, 20 people that have already decided that you are the person for them." And so hopefully, you know, she smiled and she kind of understood, but I hope that you guys understand listening to this, anybody going through something like this. And this could be about age, this could be about sex, this could be about race, this could be about gender, this could be about sexuality, this could be about religion, this could be about political, you know, opinions and choices and preferences, right? Take anything that people have an opinion about or things that people are going to judge you about, just take that and then look at the people who make that their identity and they embrace being a victim of the situation. And then think of all the people who are exactly the same, but they just kind of embrace more aspects of their personality, more aspects of who they are, right? I have, you know, friends that are, let's take as an example, right, that are gay. I have some friends who gay is their entire who they are, everything. And then I have friends who are gay that like it's part of who they are, but there's just a lot of other things that they also like to express, talk about, think about, you know. We're all so unique and different that again, it's more than anything the person and how they decide to, you know, embrace whatever idea or whatever opinion or whatever part of their life they want to and how they want to present themselves, right? And we're all open to it, but what I'm talking about here is most people, if you really pay attention, when you're talking about this issue, and this is where I said I'm not going to be, you know, just nice the whole time, right? I'm going to have to give you the truth. I need you to really pay attention to the amount of people that do not hold this opinion about you. There are already a lot of people in your life, a lot of clients in the gym, a lot of the staff or people that you've worked with. There are going to be some that believe this, that you're too young or that you're a woman and that you don't know anything. But there's also a lot, and I'm willing to bet more that are just not even thinking about that, that are not even considering that, that gave you an opportunity anyway. People that are going to hire you anyway, they're not thinking about that. So, why I had to start with the mindset is because when we fall into this mindset, we start to focus only on the negative part and we miss all of the positive part. And the reality is, not everyone is going to like everything about us, right? Again, as a society, it seems like we have become this like everyone must like everything about everyone all the time. And the reality is that we forget that we are humans and we are animals, and our brain is programmed in a certain way where we other each other, right? The tall people may feel a way about a shorter people, the short people may feel a way about tall people. It's an othering that happens in our psychology that is unfortunately part of being a person. And so you have certain people that will not rest until short people and tall people see each other the same way, but the reality is they're living different lives. But do they get along? Probably. Do they try to understand each other? Probably. But again, you either create enemies or you embrace whatever it is that you are, and you realize everyone has something that they could be looked at as an outsider or as different or as less than or whatever, right? There's always going to be people that are not mature enough to see people for who they are. There's always going to be people like this. But I'll tell you this, the majority of people are going to just see you for who you are, right? So again, what I'm trying to point, you know, shine a light on, as I'm kind of rambling at this point, what I'm trying to shine a light on is that if all of us chose our most vulnerable part of us, we could all end up being a victim of that thing, whatever that thing is, right? So, why isn't everyone a victim of something? Because some people decide to embrace their victimhood and some people decide to let it go and focus on the positive and focus on their strengths and focus on what they can do, right? You may not be able to change people's minds, but you can focus on all the other people that would love to have you as a coach. The issue here is if you focus too much on the few that maybe don't have that respect, those few that are limited in their way of thinking, and they see you only as 19, they see you only as a woman, they see you only as someone who doesn't know. If you focus on them too much, you're doing a disservice to all the people that wish that you were their trainer. So part of it is going to be up to you and what you decide to look at. Okay. Now, all of our scenarios are to different degrees, but I'm going to give you an example of something that I struggled with. Okay. And it's not the same, but I went through something similar in the sense that when I got hired on as a personal trainer, I was not as big and as lean and as handsome in my eyes as some of the other trainers. I was not as experienced, right? So for those of you guys that may be curious, I'm only 5'8", right? And I say only because people's standard of height seems to be like 6 feet or taller, right? But I was 5'8", and a lot of the trainers when I got hired were all 5'10", 6, 6'2", 5'11". Most of the trainers were taller than I was, right? And I don't consider myself a short person, but I know I'm not a tall person, right? So I felt that when people came in to train and choose a trainer at the gym, of course they were not going to choose me. The other trainers were taller. Some of them were more muscular. All of them were more experienced, so they knew how to talk, they knew how to train. So, so how does that guy become the guy with the gym, with the employees, with the podcast? Because I had to get over it. Because I had to find other ways to shine, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But I had to work harder than the other trainers. I did. I had to work harder to be able to speak better. I had to work harder to have better sales so that I didn't have to fail so much, right? People hired them sometimes just based on the way they looked. That's just the reality. I had one time, I tell you this, one time I had a woman come and train with me. She said, "Oh, it's out of my budget. It's too expensive." 2 days later, I come upstairs and she's already hired another trainer. Okay. How did that make me feel? Right. I'm just giving you these examples because, again, the point is, and the first point that I made is we all have something to overcome. We all have something to overcome. But here's the thing, if I don't stop and tell you guys that story right now, all of you guys keep thinking, man, Sam just had it. Sam's just got something. Sam's just smart. Sam was just given things. Sam must come from a great family. Sam must have gotten some money. Sam must just naturally be a salesperson. Sam must naturally be confident, right? You make an assumption about a person because all you see is who they became, but you don't know what they went through. And so sometimes when things like this happen to you, when people are not respecting you for whatever reason, you think, again, like I said earlier, woe is me. Oh no, this is happening to me. And it's true, it is happening to you. That's the real part. That's the part that everybody's going to harp on. They're going to go, "Oh yeah, poor you." But the reality is, okay, poor me too then. Because poor me, I wasn't getting the clients the way the other trainers were getting. But I never saw it that way. If I did, I'm almost defeating myself before I even gave myself an opportunity, because a lot of this is mindset. That's why I wanted to start with how you think about things and give you a real example of, I had a trainer that I talked to a few years ago exactly about this. I went through my own version of this, and all other trainers have gone through a version of this. Okay. I'm going to give you an example of Sean. You guys have seen him. Those of you guys that follow the Instagram, you'll see, right? If I'm not a big guy, Sean's not a big guy because he's smaller than me, and we've talked about this, we've laughed about this. So, anything I say here, Sean and I have already discussed, because we talk about these things all the time. But Sean is in charge pretty much of the gym now that I am not at the gym every day. So Sean is in charge of pretty much making sure that the gym is going, people are signing up, trainers are doing their programs, and any little issues that come up, for the most part, Sean is the one that handles it. And should they need me, then it goes to me, right? So that's the system that we run. So just so you guys know who Sean is, right? Sean is my right-hand man at the gym, right? So he is pretty much Logic Fitness, and he has been with me since 2 months after I opened up the gym. Now, Sean is not born in the States. He's not very tall. English is his second language. And even that, he's had a hard time with pronunciation of words sometimes, right? And this is just things from birth, things from childhood, things from being from a different place, I'm just trying to outline to you that he's had to overcome his own issues. Now, if you met Sean, you would never even think that he had to overcome it because he's so confident, right? He works out, he reads, he sells, he's confident, he teaches the trainers, right? Like, you would never think that this person had to overcome, but this person had to overcome a lot. And there's other things that we don't even need to talk about that had to be overcome, right? So again, does he decide, man, people are going to look at me a certain way, people are not going to understand what I'm saying? Or does he say, fuck it, I'm going to focus on the people that care about me, I'm going to focus on getting better, and I'm going to focus on my goals and achieving them at whatever cost that is, right? And so far he has. He went from being a new trainer, starting off with no clients at the gym, to working his way up to now he's the one in charge when I'm not there, right? Look at the growth, but he never gave in to being a victim of his circumstances. That's the opening. We're still on point number 1, you guys. But he never gave in to the opinion of others. I never gave in to the opinions of others, even when that woman who told me it was too expensive signed up with someone else. Didn't give up. I have another story, just so you know that I've been there. This was at Bally Total Fitness. Back then, there was a phone calls that you would make, right? There was a phone log, and I would make phone calls because I was new, and I would just, people that had not used their first free trial session, my job was to give them a call and invite them, and it was miserable. Any of you guys that have worked at a gym and you have to make calls, it's not fun because you get rejected a lot. People are upset. They keep asking to get off the list, and sometimes the managers don't want you to get them off the list. It's a whole uncomfortable experience. So I called this woman. She had just gotten a membership. I call her, and she's like, yeah, me and my daughter would love to try the training session. She was excited. I said, great, perfect. So she shows up. Now, granted, we've only spoken on the phone. I'm waiting for them upstairs, right? Again, I'm trying to be a good trainer, good salesperson. So I'm up there. I'm excited. I'm smiling and ready to greet them. And they're coming up, and I see that it's a mom and daughter. So I'm like, I think this might be them. And they go, we're looking for Sam. And I said, oh, I'm Sam. And the mom, for those of you guys that are on YouTube, we get the look, but the mom looks at me down, looks up, looks down, looks up, and she looks at the daughter, and in front of my face, you guys, I kid you not, in front of my face, she looks at the daughter and goes, do you still want to do it? I want you guys to soak that in for a second and think about how that would feel. When she finally met me face to face, she looked at her daughter and she said, do you still want to do it? And the daughter, being nice enough, she said, yeah, I'll still do it. And the mom said, I'll wait for you downstairs. The mom wanted nothing to do with me. Now, I don't know if it was the way I looked, the way I sounded, the way I smelled, the way I smiled, if it was racial. I don't know. I don't care. I don't care. That's what I need you guys to understand about this whole being nice to each other and being a victim and focusing always on the negative. I did not care. I did not let her change my perception of women like her, right? I did not let that happen, because if I would have, I would be a victim. If I would have, I would fall for traps that people in society set up for you based on knowing that you have a weird bias and a weird victimhood. I hope some of you guys understand what I'm trying to say when I say that. Right? You fall for certain traps because you see everything through the lens of race, through the lens of sex, through the lens of all of these things. I did not let her change my opinion of women like her. Now, somebody may have changed her opinion about people like me in the past. That's just one lady. In that moment, I could have started to only look for women like her, only look to verify what I believed in that moment. Oh, you see, all women like her think that way. Oh, you see, training is not for me. Oh, this other client, she's probably judging me too, right? If I go down that path, my whole life may not be what it is now. I may not have the gym. I may have quit training. I may not have the employees. I would have never met Sean. I would have never met, you know, my partner. I would have never met any, like things would be different. I wouldn't have met the friends that I've made. And obviously I wouldn't know, right? Like, it's kind of a stupid thing that I just said because I wouldn't know the difference. I'd be living the life that I'd be living. But the point is, I didn't buy into it. I didn't let one lady derail me from what I wanted to achieve. And the fact that her daughter did try the training, and the fact that I went on to be a very popular trainer at the gym. I was very successful. I got promoted to management. I went on and opened up a business. Like, I kept going. I didn't let them derail me. But I'm just saying that this is the point that I'm trying to make. I'm sharing with you just some stories to let you know that we all have something to overcome, right? And I've learned this because through personal training, I've made a lot of different acquaintances and a lot of different friends. I have I've met a lot of Asian friends, black friends, white friends, female, male, gay, trans, right? Right wing, left wing people. And what that has taught me is simply that that we all have something that the world doesn't know that we're dealing with, right? And so what happens is I've seen it a lot because I've made all sorts of friends, right? I have friends in one group who point the finger at friends in a different group. They don't know that I'm friends with all of them. And I hear them in a conversation. They go, "Oh, people like that, those people," right? Let's say, for example, in your question, right? "Oh, women, they don't know, whatever," or young people, they don't know, or whatever. I hear them, but because I also know the other group, I can say, "Oh no, that other group thinks that this group is has it all figured out, and this group thinks that that group has it all figured out." And you have a bunch of people who think that the other people are not understanding what they're going through. And what's funny is that everybody has gone through something, everyone has overcome something, everyone has their own struggles. Some you can see, some you can't see. Some are just deep struggles of things that have happened that they would never tell anyone. And here we are saying, well, that person has it easier. You don't know that. You don't know what happened to them when they were a kid. You don't know what's going on at home. You don't know what's going on in their mind. So, again, the point is stop focusing on other people. And I'm not saying that you are with this question, but this is just a general message to everybody. When you focus on, I have a struggle, people don't understand. I have a struggle that these people are, they have it better or they don't understand or whatever. Um, it's going to lead nowhere. It's not to say it's not true, because this is the big picture here. It's what are you going to do about it anyway? Because complaining about it, right? Like you did the right thing in this question. Instead of just staying at home and complaining about it, you did something about it. You looked for a solution. So for you, you did the right thing, and you should be doing that. This is what everyone should be doing. If you have an issue, find a solution. Don't just sit in it, because it's going to lead you down a bad path. If you find solutions, you'll find solutions. You'll find ways to get through it. So today is just about the mindset. One more thing about the mindset, and then we'll move on from part number one of this. But we got a lot to say, I guess, about this topic. Again, same thing, just kind of getting you to think about things possibly in a different way. Maybe you already agree with me, maybe you completely disagree, maybe you'll just think, okay, I hadn't thought about that. And that's where I hope you are, right? I hope I hadn't thought about that. Maybe you can change your mind around it. I'm going to tell you guys one more story just about victim mindset, right? Because we're just starting with the mindset and being careful that we don't become a victim of our circumstances and victim of society, right? Because that's number one. If you have the wrong mindset, no piece of advice that I give you after this is going to work or land, because you've taken on a victim identity. But if you haven't taken on a victim identity, then you'll be able to apply the advice, right? But first you have to believe that you can get through it in order to apply it, right? So I hope that makes sense. One more conversation I had around this, and then I'll let it go. This was years ago. I was talking to a friend, and I was talking about pulling yourself up from your bootstraps, okay? And I didn't use that term. Okay. I was just saying, hey, you work your way up. Sometimes you start at the bottom of a company, you have a lot to overcome. Sometimes people look at you a certain way, right? So I was telling this friend, same thing that happened to me, things that my boss had said, asking me if I had a green card, my boss being hard on me at that time, clients kind of being, sometimes mean to me at that time. And I was telling my friend this, and I was saying, but I persevere. I keep going. I started a gym. I didn't have any money, but like I just, I showed up every day, 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day. I worked every weekend. I gave it everything I had. And I was just talking about like my journey to this friend. And my friends just stopped, got upset, and said, well, not everybody can pull themselves up from the bootstraps. Some people don't even have boots to begin with. And I said, sure, but when you don't have boots, your first mission is to figure out how to get boots. So there still is no reason why you can't try to figure it out. Now, again, there are extreme cases. I understand that. There are very extreme cases where overcoming them especially with whatever mental illness and drug addictions. Once you fall into that category, it's even harder, maybe sometimes even nearly impossible. But I still have a belief in those people, right? Other people have quit on them. I still believe even in those people. But what I said was, okay, I said, you're right. I'm sorry. I said, you're right. I'm sorry. And any of you guys listening that feel like my friend when I'm talking, I'm saying the same thing to you. You are right. And I'm sorry that I'm assuming that you can work your way out from the bottom. Now I'm going to tell you what I told my friend, and let's see if you can give me an answer. Okay. What do you suggest I tell people struggling? What's your message? Because clearly my message is dumb. Clearly my message is wrong. So, someone who needs help getting out of the situation that they're in, I turned it to my friend. I said, what would you tell them? And this friend just stayed quiet and just stared at me. And I said, that's the issue. The issue is that all you do is tell people why they cannot, why race is an issue, why sex is an issue, why their starting point is an issue, why them not having money is an issue, why them being born into poverty is an issue, right? You tell them the issue, which they already know because they're living it. I said, but you have no message of growth, of prosperity, of getting out of the situation. That's my issue with it. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm not saying racist things don't happen to people. I'm not saying sexist things don't happen to people. I'm not saying people in poverty are going to have a harder time trying to get out of it. I'm not denying the fact that some people have a harder time. But what I am saying and what I'm questioning is, what is your message for those people to try to help them? Because if you tell them that they're a victim of their circumstances and they're shit out of luck, well, then what do they have to live for? All I'm trying to say is you can still grow. You can still get out of this. It may be harder. I'm not denying that, but I need to have a message of positivity, of growth, of opportunity for people, because what else is there? Just agreeing with your victimhood, agreeing with your circumstances is not going to help you. And also, whether I agree with it or not, you know that it's true for you, right? So even if I don't agree that you're starting off in a lower place, if I said, no, you got everything you need, even if it's not true, you know that it's not true. And so that part doesn't matter. So that was a conversation I had with my friend. I'm only trying to further show you the importance of your mindset around your issues. That's all. I know that I haven't gotten to the question exactly yet today, and I'm sorry, but it's just important to discuss these mindset issues that we have in our society. I think it's just so important. And your question today, Liv, just kind of reminded me of that. Okay. So I'm kind of using your question to talk about a bigger issue that we have here. I'm not really getting into your question just yet, but I'm just talking about sometimes this can happen to us. We become a victim of our situations and our circumstances, and we stop fighting, we stop growing, we stop asking questions. We start believing that everybody believes this, and we start to shift our view of the world to the degree where everyone's an enemy, where there is no opportunity for me to succeed. And now, even if you read a book, you don't believe. Even if you listen to a podcast, you don't believe. Even if somebody extends their hand to help you, you won't believe. Even if somebody gives you a job, you won't believe. You'll sabotage it because it's not in line with your beliefs. And I see that happen all the time. I hire people. Every year I'm hiring people. And the biggest, most destructive part in their growth and lack of it is just the belief that they have. They believe that the boss is the enemy. They believe that they're never going to get a raise. They believe that people don't want to train with them. They believe that they're not good enough. They believe that there's no opportunity. They believe that there's no more growth. They believe that the clients don't show up. They believe that the clients don't have money. They believe that the clients don't want to keep training. They believe whatever they believe, they're kind of sabotaging themselves. So that's why the beliefs that you have are so important, and shaking that and never falling into being a victim of your circumstances, right? Again, I'm just going to make this last point. When I say don't fall victim to your circumstances, I'm not saying you don't have difficult circumstances. Okay, that's different. I'm not denying your circumstances. I'm not denying what's happening to you. What's happening to you is true and valid. But if you become a victim of it, what I'm saying when I say that is now you've accepted it as your place on earth, as your place in this world. And now, if you've accepted it, instead of continuing to fight through it, the moment you accept it, You guys work in fitness. It's like the person that just says, I guess I'm just meant to be fat. I guess I'm just going to die young, right? No good coach would say, okay, I guess so. You would say, no, there's opportunity, there's chance. You're just not eating well. You're just not growing. You're just not, right? Like, it's okay if you're overweight, but you still have to be healthy and fit, right? Like, even if your body type is different, you can still work out and do the actions that it takes to be a healthier person, right? That part is on you. So, just how you would talk to a client that is giving up on themselves or is just accepting that they're going to have to be on medication, you as a good coach would say, no, we can still try to work through this, right? If you're a good coach, I'm doing the same thing with whatever it is that you're going through. Oh, this is just not for me. Oh, people don't take me seriously. Oh, people don't like people like me. No, there's still a chance here. You keep moving forward. You find people that love you for who you are, and you keep going. You keep growing. And if there's an issue that you're dealing with, you read some books, you get some therapy, you get a coaching, you get mentor, you find the right podcast, right? An episode I did a long time ago, some kid, I think he was 16. He asked me for advice, and I said, stop listening to music. And I'm going to bring that up to you. If you feel like you don't have time, stop listening to music. Listen to a podcast around the issue that you're having. There's plenty of people sharing messages. I'm not the only one that are around different scenarios, different issues, and that can help instead of just, again, just sitting there in your situation. You can move forward. So I've ranted on and on and on about this, but I just think it's so important to understand that it's really you accepting the opinions of others, um, and making them a reality in your life. So that's an issue. Now, the next point I wanted to make, this one, um, this is the reality of business, okay? And the reality of pretty much everything in our world. Um, People want to be the best, okay? And people want to hire the best. And so you need to be the best, okay? Now, this is the unfair part of the advice that I'm going to have to give you today. If you are younger, if you are a woman and you feel like as a woman people think you don't know enough, right? Maybe you're in a predominantly male. But actually, you know what's funny? For those of you guys that are thinking that, the women that I've talked to that have this issue, they feel it from other women. They feel that older women think that they're just a dumb girl, right? It's not men. And I'm just saying the conversations I've had. I'm not saying the reality of society. I can only speak to the reality of the conversations I've had. The conversations that I've had with young female trainers have been that usually older women are the ones that are hard on them. And now you will know if what I'm saying is true or not. But from the conversations I've had with other trainers, this seems to be the issue here. I don't know if there's some type of competition or jealousy or what, but there's something going on there. And I'm not saying, obviously, the obvious one is that probably men and a male manager, male ownerships are treating you a certain way. That's the obvious answer, but I just wanted to make sure. Again, I said I'm not here to be politically correct. I'm here to tell the truth. And the truth is, from the conversations I've had with these women, this is what has come up. It's not the men that they're complaining about. It's usually other older women that they're complaining about. So just fun fact there from what I've noticed. But this is the reality. You're going to have to be tougher. You're going to have to be smarter. Okay. You're going to have to be the best in every area. And you need to, this is just kind of a side note here. And I know that people hate to hear this, but even the way that you present yourself is going to say something about you. Okay. Now, here's the thing. I'm not here to say how things should be, right? Just because you present yourself in a certain way doesn't mean that people should judge you. But here's the thing that people never want to accept. People are going to judge you. They shouldn't judge you is different than do they judge you? And again, what do you ultimately want out of this scenario? Do you want their respect or not? Right? So if you have nothing to say, if you have nothing to show them, if you have nothing to teach them, and you present yourself in a way where all you have is possibly your good looks to show them, because this happens a lot in women in fitness, right? I talk about social media all the time, right? There's these women that amass a large social media following, but really they want to have clients, but they can't get clients because all they have is a bunch of dogs that follow her, right? So these guys they're probably going to pay you for other things, but they're not going to pay you to respect your craft, right? So you have to be self-aware and see, how do I present myself? How do I want the world to see me? right? And what do I want them to stop looking at me as? If you want them, and I'm not saying this is you, this is just a general example of things that I see. If you want them to not see you as just a pretty little girl, then stop just showing them a pretty little girl, because how could they see you any different if that's not what you show, right? So you're hoping that they just see things differently when you're not doing anything about it, right? And we do that all the time, right? Like, just in so many situations I see this. We present in a certain way, and then I see it in dating. Because I'm not just going to throw women under the bus. Guys do this all the time, right? They post online and about this and about that, and women are this and women are that. But then when I talk to them in private, they wish that they had a lover. They wish that they had a real relationship. And I'm like, dude, everything that you're saying and posting online about how women cheat, about how women are a dime a dozen, are not in line with what you truly feel. Why don't you just be more honest to who you want and what you want out of this world? But we present differently than what we want, right? Women are the same thing. You present differently than what you're trying to get. So you need to be more congruent and just realize and accept human nature. That's one of the biggest issues I find in our modern, like, wanting to be nice, wanting to be fair society, is that we behave in the way that we hope people behave, not in the way that people really behave. We live in this should be world instead of it is world. And that's why we have so many issues. Well, they shouldn't judge me, but they do. Well, they should know better, but they don't. So it's up to you to be more aware than them. If they're ignorant, if they're dumb, if they're short sighted, you can't just go, well, they shouldn't be. I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, but until they change, they're not going to change. If you want to win, you need to make the changes, right? I say this all the time. It's one of my sayings. You guys can quote me on this, because this might be my saying for the world, right? Everybody is known for something. This is the one that I always say. You can either win or you can be right. What that means is, in this scenario, right, if you want to win, you need to make the changes because you are smarter than the other people. You are more aware and you know your goals. So how do I get to my goals? How do I get respect? How do I get knowledge? How do I get wisdom? How do I get a job? How do I get clients? I'm going to do what I need to do to get the outcome that I want. Now, if I want to be right, I'm going to say, no, they shouldn't think this way. They should know better. Why do they see me that I don't think I should change? They should change. That is a hopeful, I want to be right about the world. I care more about saying the right thing and being right about my judgment of people than actually getting my result. So I always say, do you want to win or do you want to be right? Because usually you can't be both. The winners adjust. The winners take responsibility. The winners make changes. The winners take responsibility for things that aren't even their responsibility. In this case, it's not your responsibility that people judge you, but it is your responsibility to change in order to change, to adapt according to them, because they are not wise enough to change, but you should be wise enough to change. They're not smart enough to see things. You're smart enough to see things. So if you're the smart one, then you need to figure out how to adjust everything that you need to adjust in order to win. Because if you keep hoping that other people adjust, then you just want to hear yourself talk. You just want to keep complaining, right? And you want to keep living in this should be world, and your life and your time is going to pass you by. And guess what? In 100 years, humans are probably going to be about the same. They're going to think about the same. They're going to, now it may be about different things, but their core will be the same, right? 1,000 years ago, humans used to hate this. Now they don't, but they hate something new. And 100 years from now, they may not hate what they hate now, but they'll hate something new, because that's humanity. Humanity always finds something to judge, something to hate, something to other, some type of enemy. It always happens. That's just the big picture, right? But I'm just saying, if you keep waiting for people to change on their own the way that they see you, to change on their own the way that they judge you, keep hoping that men see your brain, not your body, but all you show is your body. If you keep hoping for that, you're running a big risk. You are taking a huge gamble, because the odds of that happening are close to zero. Okay. So now what do? Do we just accept that? No, we have to make the change, right? How do I change people's perspectives, right? So how do you do it? By being the best, by being undeniable. Now, this is an unfair part of life sometimes. Certain people have to prove themselves more than others. right? Like my example at the gym, I wasn't the tallest, I wasn't the most in shape, and I wasn't the most experienced. So I had to work harder than everyone else. At least that's how I felt. I don't know their situations, but I read more books, I invested more hours, I talked more with my manager, I asked for more advice, and I overcame it. I proved myself and eventually got to the point where I was better at selling and training than a lot of the other trainers. Why was that? And this is the magic of what you're going through right now. If you can decide to overcome this situation by being the best, right? So, right, as a woman, let's say people think you're dumb. I'm going to ask you a real question here. Or I don't know if you said dumb in that, but they think that you don't know anything, is what you said. Yeah, they think I'm a female trainer and you know nothing. Okay, this is my question. What are you doing to show them that you know a lot? How many books are you reading every month? How many courses are you taking every month? How many podcasts are you taking and listening to every month? Right? How much more information do you have than, let's say, your male counterparts? You need to be 2, 3, 4 times smarter than the next man. Now, is that fair? No. Will that make you win in the long run? I'm pretty sure of it because it happened to me, right? I'm not a woman. I didn't have to overcome the same things, but I had to overcome by being smarter. And guess what? Given a long enough time horizon, eventually learning to read more, learning to adjust more, learning to figure out how to speak better to people, how to think better, how to systemize better, because I had to win in the long run. Now people listen to what I have to say. Now people wish that they could train with me, right? Like I have come out on the other side. And a lot of times we don't see that even though it seems unfair in the beginning, that same thing that was unfair in the beginning is the thing that will give you that huge unfair advantage in the future. Okay. And so for me, I'm just going to keep it real with you. You're going to have to be more knowledgeable. You're going to have to try a little bit harder, okay? Because some other people are going to get ahead of you, right? Even in the gym, let's say there's two women. Just from looking, some people might just choose the fitter of the two women, right? So you have to, because I can't just make this about men and women. You have to just be the best, be in as best a shape as you can, be as intelligent as you can, and all the factors, be as kind as you can be, right? Listen better than other people, have a better consultation, have a better assessment, have a better sales pitch, have a better training program. Now, this is all work, but again, this is your responsibility. The world isn't going to change for you. You have to make them change their opinion of you. And the only way you do that is to continue to work on yourself. Now, the age thing, again, some people are going to look at that. They're the minority. But if you have solutions to their problems, if you are the best trainer, people want the best, right? I've had to tell people this from a business perspective, right? I've hired women, I've hired men, I've hired white people, I've hired black people, okay? Why do I hire such a diverse group of individuals? It's not because I'm trying to be um, inclusive. It's not at all that I'm trying to be inclusive. Is that when you look for the best people, they're going to come in different packages, right? But this is what people don't understand. They might look at it from the outside and go, "Oh, that's cool. He has that person from this place. He has a person." Who cares? The reality is that they're all the best, and this is the part that you need to understand. People, like in my position, right? People that hire you, they want to win. They want to make money. They want to have clients. They want to get the clients results. They want to win. And so they're not going to choose someone that is not going to help them grow over someone who is. How do they make the judgment? They don't make it based on looks. They don't make it based on age. They make it based on the character of the person and what they perceive this person is capable of, right? They hire people that are coachable. They hire people that are knowledgeable. They hire people that are responsible, right? So if you can grow in all of these areas that are essential for success, then when somebody talks to you and they ask you a question, instead of feeling like a victim, oh, he's asking me that because I'm a woman, he's asking me that because I'm young. If you have a great answer, they're going to go, you know what? For your age, you are something else. And you know what they're going to do? They're going to go, wow, if you're this good at 19, if you're still with the company by the time you're 25, you're going to be the CEO, right? Again, but the part that is up to you is the amount of knowledge, the amount of reading, the amount of education, the amount of self-awareness, the amount of grit, the amount of stamina, the emotions that you learn to control, right? Sometimes women tend to be connected to their emotions more than men, sometimes. And so reading on stoicism would be a great piece of advice that I would give anyone, because it helps you kind of control your emotions and not let your emotions control you. So that's for anybody and everybody. If you get angry too easily, right? Because sometimes men think they're not emotional. You just manifest it in a different way that is also not productive, right? I've also had to deal with a lot of men getting angry at stupid stuff, right? Like maybe you think, oh, emotions is crying. No, you throwing a fit because you got a parking ticket is not healthy, dude. And women, just because a guy, your manager says, hey, I need you to be on time, does not mean he's attacking you, right? These are just conversations. Everybody needs to deal with their emotions. So I'm telling this everybody. Emotions are another thing that hinders so many people. Their lack of control of emotions, their lack of processing ability to say, is this person really attacking me, or are they right? I would even ask that with the people that feel like you're too young or that you don't know anything. Could they possibly be feeling something that you are projecting, right? Maybe they have questions that you don't have answers to. Maybe, I don't know. Did you do something irresponsible that made them think? Because here's the thing, it may not be your age, but that's what people see. So if you're running late, if you are showing up eating a protein bar right in the middle of their session, if you show up with, whatever bedazzled shoes that are all shiny, or if you show up, I don't know, maybe, I don't know, doing anything, right? I don't want to say anything that people are going to get too crazy and upset about, but so maybe you're doing something that anyone else would do. This is, again, this is the hard thing about processing why people actually see you differently. Let's say you are 19 and you show up and you are in the middle of eating a protein bar while you train. Eating a protein bar is something that a 40-year-old may do. But because you're young, their brain is going to go, oh, she's doing that because she's too young to know better. So it's your responsibility to give them nothing to be able to make that assumption about, right? It's not your job to say, oh, well, everybody eats a protein bar, because now, again, you're excusing yourself and you're blaming them for their assumption, which, again, you may be right about. That's why I said you can either win or you can be right. This is a perfect example. You can either be right about that. You can go, hey, everybody eats a protein bar. Why do you think that, I'm dumb because I eat a protein bar? And I'm just using that. Fill in the blank with any situation that you may come up with. Whatever it is that you do is going to be highlighted by your age or by your sex, right? So again, that goes into be the best, right? Not only do you need to be the most knowledgeable, but you need to be the most respectable, right? You need to present yourself in the best way possible, because you don't get away with certain things, right? You don't have the experience. You may not have the knowledge. You may not have the respect yet. So you have to earn that respect from people. And then, you could have a little more leeway, right? But when you don't have it, you don't have it. But I've seen it. We had an 18-year-old skinny trainer at the gym. It's funny because every time I tell you guys a story, it always turns into like, and then this person ended up using that to be a success. And this is another example of that. We hired a trainer. He was, I would say he was like 100, I don't know, 120, let's say 125. And he was a little shorter than me. So he was like 5'6", 5'7", 120 something pounds. And he really wanted to be a trainer. And, they gave him the opportunity. So here comes this trainer. The shirt doesn't fit him. It's all big and baggy. And, us as trainers, we thought it was funny. I thought he was going to fail, right? Even I judged him. Even though I had gone through my own judgments, I judged him because that's how humans are, right? I'm not here to be politically correct. That's how humans are. So I judged him too, right? I was older. I was 23, 24. I was more muscular. I was a little taller, right? I filled in my shirt. He did not, right? He was just a skinny kid. And by the end of the week, he had a client. And we were like, what the heck? And it was like an in-shape woman that he had signed up. And then he did it again. He did it again. And it turns out his personality was wonderful. His sales pitch was wonderful. He came from a sales background. And so he was leaning into his strength. And he was able to build up a solid client base, being a 125-pound skinny kid that didn't even fill his shirt. He looked funny with the big old baggy shirt. And yet he had more clients by the end of the first few months. He had more clients than people that had been there a year. And people were wondering how he was doing it. Right. So again, what did he do? He leaned into other aspects of who he was, right? And here's the thing. He went on to quit training. He started doing real estate. He went on to do great things in real estate. He's very well off now. This, you got to think, this was like 15 years ago that this happened. In those 15 years, he took those skills and obviously he got bigger and more, filled in his shirt. He's in good shape now and everything. And he's grown up. He's not 18 anymore. But because he leaned in and created a strength, look at that. Again, that strength carried him into success. Even though he was weak in the beginning, it turned into an amazing success. So in a way, I want you to be inspired by this and realize that overcoming this situation of feeling this way, that people are seeing you this way, if you can overcome that, you're going to be able to compound that into greater success in the future. Almost all people that go on to build great things is because they figured out how to overcome. The people that don't figure out how to overcome never develop the skills, whether they are technical skills or emotional skills or interpersonal skills, right? Because there's a bunch of different skills that you have to have, and every situation requires different skills. When you develop the skills to get beyond your issue, you figure out how to continue to grow your skills into success. People who cannot continue to struggle because they don't have the skills, because usually the same skills that are going to get you out of the situation are the same skills you're going to need to get a promotion, which are the same skills you're going to need to coach other people, which are the same skills you're going to need to sell bigger packages, which are the same skills you're going to need to start a business, which are the same skills you're going to need to hire and fire people, which are the same skills you're going to need to continue to grow your franchise. So because you figured them out in the trenches in the beginning, you figured out how to figure things out, and you can continue to compound that. That's one of the big issues. That's why I started with my big rant about not succumbing to the victimhood. If you quit, if you just think this is your circumstance, then you will never develop the skills that you're going to need for the bigger things that you want out of life, right? You want bigger things, but you can't even figure out this little issue that you're having. The other things are going to require those same skills, sometimes in a greater magnitude. So it's very important. So again, as I do want to give you advice, how do you get the respect of these people? Number one, maybe it's the way you present yourself, how you dress. Do you dress sloppy? Do you present yourself as someone who wants to be looked at, right? Again, I'm not saying this is fair and it should be this way, but it might be that way. You could also be creating jealousy. It might not even be that people are judging you. It may be that you're making them uncomfortable because they're jealous of what you have, right? So I don't know what's going on through their mind, but what you can do is control what you can control. So again, that's just the question I'm putting out there, right? How do you present yourself? Right. And it goes for everybody. You guys, some of you guys showing up, dude, I had a guy show up to an interview with a hole in his shirt. Okay, so this isn't just, oh, women are being judged. Dude, how you present yourself is important. And a lot of you guys aren't thinking about that. I've seen dudes show up with shoelaces untied. I've seen dudes, like the dude with the shirt that was torn. I had a guy show up in a tank top once. I mean, dude, what do you, and I bet you those guys went home and were like, oh man, he probably thinks I'm dumb. I don't think you're dumb. Well, I do think you're dumb, but not in training. I think you're stupid at life. And so I can't have you on my team. So yes, I am judging you, and I'm probably right. And you guys listening, what would you think? Do you think if that guy went home with a hole in his shirt said, oh man, those bosses always judging the way you dress? Is he right or am I right? Right? Put yourself in my position. If somebody you were going to hire shows up to an interview with a hole in their shirt, what am I supposed to do? Now, if he talked to me, he might say, dude, I'm really out of, I don't have any shirts. I'm dead broke. I really need this job. Okay, but you have to be honest. Those are the skills you need to develop. But if you don't talk about it, I'm just going to assume that you're an idiot, that you couldn't look and think, I want to get this. It lets me know you don't want the job. It lets me know you don't care. It lets me know that you're too stupid to figure out simple issues. It tells me a lot, right? I could be wrong, but I'm probably not. And the same goes the other way with however it is that you're presenting yourself to the world. They could be wrong, but they're probably not, right? So that's one piece of advice. Check yourself, right? How do you want the world to see you? There is nothing wrong with how you dress. Just accept how the world sees you when you do it, right? That's all. That's all it is. Accept the reality of human nature and adjust to it, right? Don't be mad at humans for being humans. That's what humans do, right? Humans judge, right? If you saw someone eating a sandwich, would you get upset about why is this person eating a sandwich? Don't they know that they shouldn't be eating a sandwich? Humans eat. Humans get hungry and they eat, and sometimes they eat a sandwich. Is it crazy? No. So judgment is the same way. You cannot get mad that a human judges. It's like eating a sandwich to a human being. It's just what we do. So it's up to you. How do you want to be judged? Because the judgment you cannot change. You can't get in their brain and change it, but you can manipulate situations to better present yourself in a way and in a light that helps people judge you differently. Here's the thing though, do you even believe that you're that person? Right? It goes deeper than that. You first have to believe who you want to be, make the adjustment for you, and then the world will see it. So that's just one piece of advice. The other thing I said, be more knowledgeable than everyone else, right? Be as knowledgeable as possible. You know, you got to read about fitness, read about sales, read about marketing, read about getting along with people, read about relationships, right? Get to know people who can help you, right? Befriend trainers that are ahead of you. Look for mentors, right? There are plenty of women. You know, I actually, you know, maybe I'll be able to do an episode in the future, but I reached out to a couple of female trainer friends of mine that have been doing it for a while. And I just said, hey, you know, maybe you can help me with a podcast episode. So we'll see if that goes anywhere. I know they're busy, but just need to look for answers to those questions. And again, be great in all of these skills, you know, and I keep talking about, you know, sales and relationships, so because you have two things going on here. You have your hard skills and you have your soft skills, right? And you may be stronger in one or the other. Maybe you have great soft skills, right? Soft skills is your relationships, your emotional awareness, your being able to tell if somebody's enjoying the conversation or not, being able to tell when you should stop a conversation or change the subject, right? These are soft skills, interpersonal skills, right? How to present your training, right? It's kind of a hard skill because you can practice it, but it's a soft skill to adjust and to change your tone, right? Being able to say things in a certain way is a soft skill. So those are soft skills that need to be developed. That this is why the podcast exists. Again, right? I always talk about why do we do this? Because up until now, most of your education around personal training is all hard skills. How do you overhead assess? How do you progress? How do you overload, right? It's all very technical, matter of fact things. But soft skills are the things in between. What are you talking about in between sets? How do you know the person is enjoying themselves? When do you high five them? You know, how do you get, like you said, how do you get the respect? What do you say? What do you do, right? These are the soft skills versus the hard skills. So I need you to just be the best and keep working to increase your tolerance of work to be the best. I wrote a note here, but this is a very hard thing about trying to instruct other people is we don't know what other people's work tolerance is. Okay. And so this is where a lot of this is why I don't like talking about work hard, right? Sometimes I'll say it, but this is the difficult thing about hard work. Hard work to you may not mean the same thing that it means to me, right? And so when I say, oh, you just have to work hard, and I could tell you that your tolerance for hard work may be less than mine, but more importantly, it may be less than what is required. This is another huge um, growth block for people. Right? A lot of people want to grow and they say, oh, you know, I'm doing everything I can. But here's the thing. Your perception of everything you can do may not be enough. It may not be what is required, right? That's why usually people who grow to be successful in an area, they overwork. And we have society that goes, oh, you know, you don't have to overwork. But here's the paranoia that people have. paranoia that I have, and it used to be more intense, but I still have it, which is, what if reading one book a month is below what I need to be doing? And so I would try to read two, I would try to read three, because I was paranoid that my perception of what I should be doing may be too low. That's why when you guys see people that overdo it, they're not overdoing it because they like to overdo it. They're overdoing it because they're paranoid that they may undershoot, right? So same thing I'm going to say with you, right? When you're working towards your training, towards your respect, towards other things, you may need to. That's why I said you have to be the best. You have to work harder than everybody. Why? Not because it's absolutely necessary, but because what if you undershoot it? What if you compare yourself to the wrong person? You're like, well, that person left at 3 and he's a guy. And, I shouldn't be doing that. Just because I'm a woman, I should leave at 3 too. Okay. But the issue is, what if the client would have come at 3:30 or 4? You undershot what you needed. And so, sure, you're right. Again, here we go again, right? You're correct. If he leaves at 3, you should leave at 3. But here's the issue: he has clients, you don't have clients. So, just by behaving like someone else doesn't mean you're getting the same results. Maybe if you knew this person used to stay here 12 hours a day, they don't anymore. So you're comparing yourself to the wrong person, right? You may go, oh, this guy leaves at 3. He thinks I'm going to stay. I'm going to leave. Yeah, but that guy, when he started, he used to leave at 7. And so if you compare yourself to him, you're undershooting the amount of work that it takes to achieve what that person may have already achieved, right? And so what happens? We fall into judgment. We go, oh, he gets everything because he's a man, because he's 6'5", because he has muscles, because he's white, because he's black, because he's got eyes like this, because he was born into this family. You didn't see what happened before. You have no idea. And you are at the before stage right now. If you don't have the clients, if you don't have the success that you want yet, you are still at that before stage. And so you need to listen to advice that is trying to help you through that phase. And so, like today, I'm telling you, you have to do more than everyone else, right? Because if you compare yourself to people that already did it, it's not enough, right? They have momentum, they have reputation, they have skills, they have a lot of things working for them that you right now do not have. And so you need to work on those. But my piece of advice is, I would say, read books on talking to people, read books from other women that have been successful. Ooh, that would be super important. There are plenty of successful women that have written books about their stories. Lean on that. Get books about successful people, successful women. I know a lot of girls, like to read books on romance and stuff like that. And that's all well and good. You don't have to do that. But read biographies on women, read business books by women. You can read them by men too, because the advice is probably going to be about the same, but you can connect more to that woman. So read. There's plenty of the women on Shark Tank. They have books. You can read their stories, and many others, right? There are many successful women that have been through what you've been through. All you have to do is seek them out. And you may not be able to find them in person all the time, but they write books, they have podcasts, they have, documentaries, whatever. They have shows on YouTube, on Netflix, where you can at least witness what someone who succeeds behaves and sounds like and thinks like, right? Because a lot of these things have to be learned by watching and observing. That's the difference between those people that figure things out and don't. Is some people want to be told exactly what to do. Other people are just watching and taking what they need, right? So like when I watch somebody and I go, oh, I see how they did that, right? They said that to get the person's attention. They're not saying, oh, I said this to get your attention. No, but I saw what they did. That ad worked because they said this and they got me to think about this. But the ad is not going to educate me, right? So I'm just giving you an example of when I watch a good ad on TV or on my phone. When I see a good ad, they're not teaching me how to make a good ad, but they are, if I'm smart enough to observe what they did, observe how they got my attention, observe what videos they used, observe what tone and what words, observe how they ended. I learn by observing how people do things. And so I'm giving you that piece of advice too. Learn from other women who have done it and who have been there. You're going to connect. And even if you just observe them, observe their behavior, observe their presentation. I did an episode, I think, last episode about influencers. You got to be careful. I would say listen to that one too, though, because when you follow people, again, they may not have the things you have. If you want to have income, you may be following someone who has 10,000 followers, who looks great, who posts pictures at the beach, but she doesn't have the money that you want. So that would be a bad follow. Now, if you just want 10,000 followers, then you can probably learn how to get them from that person. But if you want $10,000, then you have to verify if that person also has that, and if this is how they get it. But odds are, those two are two different goals, right? So it's important to say that. But that's how you get people's respect, is by just being the best in all areas. It's your responsibility to become the best. You cannot change their perspective by telling them to change, but you can change their perspective by kind of demanding it through action. Because that's another issue that we have in society, is we think that getting respect is telling people to respect you. That's not how it works. You have to give them the reason to respect you, and they will, because that's part of human nature too. If you're a respectable person, people will respect you. If you're not a respectable person, even if you demand respect, you will not get it. Right? Respect is earned, as they say. Respect is earned. So right now, you have to go and earn that respect. And yes, you have a lot to overcome. I'm not going to hide that. You are young. Young people usually are seen as people who don't have a lot of, wisdom about life, a lot of knowledge about life. Um, and I would say that outweighs almost being a woman. That part, it's not as big an it. I'm telling you, when I hire, right, like, I think that would be less of a concern than someone who's maybe too young and doesn't have life experience. I think that part is hard. So that's why reading and being knowledgeable and being well-rounded is super important. I'm going to give you another little hack that you can use when you're working with older adults. Do not try to be smarter than them. They know that you're not, especially with things about life. I used to make this mistake all the time, right? I used to think that I had life figured out. I was 23 years old, and I was talking about relationships, and I was talking about kids, and I was talking about life, and I was talking about success. But I was too young to really know. Now that I'm older, I think it's funny, the things that I used to say. And if somebody were to say that to me now, I would think that it's funny, because when you're young, you just haven't been on the planet long enough to have as many experiences as someone who has been on the planet longer. And so one of the hacks that I realized is, when you work with older people, it's better to ask about them, about their life, about their advice, right? Sean is amazing at this, right? Anytime he trains somebody, what do you think about that? He says. And when did that happen? Did that change your perspective? What would you say to somebody who thinks differently? He just asks questions and lets them go on and teach. And you guess what? If you guys read How to Win Friends and Influence People, that I always mention, you'll realize that's one of the techniques in getting people to like you and respect you. Asking them questions about them and making them feel important and special is a great way to get their respect and their attention. So I'm going to give that piece, because I'm trying to give you some real advice here too. I'm talking big picture a lot, but I want to give you something to walk away with. And so that's one strategy that you can implement. And I don't know what you're doing right now, right? Maybe you are already doing it, but a great way is to be interested in people. That's going to trump so many things: age, sex, race, anything. If you show interest in people by asking them about them, by asking them how they feel, by asking them what they think, instead of telling someone, right, you're 19, telling someone who's 49 about life, you may miss the mark. It's not to say that you're dumb or ignorant, but you may miss certain things. I'm telling you, because I've done it, right? I was young and I thought I knew things. And now that I'm older and I'm living through a different phase of my life, I realize, damn, there's a lot of things that I was short-sighted about. I should have asked those clients instead of telling them, right, what I thought. What do you think? I think this way. Where do you think I'm wrong? Where do you think I'm right? Like, if you were in my shoes, if you were 19 again, what would you do differently? Right? You can ask some of the people that you're training, what their opinion is, like, how did they get started in their career? And, did they ever have to overcome something? You can talk to them in different ways to get their respect. But again, showing interest in people is going to be even more important. It's going to trump a lot of things, I'm telling you, because most people that are older than you don't have these skills. They talk and talk and talk about themselves. If I can give you a little piece of advice that's going to help you in life, is be interested in other people. They'll forget how old you are. They'll forget that you're a woman. They will just feel special in your presence. They will feel seen in your presence. They will feel heard in your presence. And that's something that people are really thirsty for in this society, is to be seen, to be heard, to be understood. So if you can do that at your young age, you're going to be giving them something that a lot of other people cannot give them. And if you partner that with reading a lot about fitness and health and about nutrition, and you partner that with presenting yourself in a respectable manner, right? Another thing you can do, man, I hope that you're still tuned in at this point because I'm giving you the real tips here. Another thing you can do, right? When I say present yourself, I'm just going to give you a real advice. Sometimes wearing like a polo shirt is more professional looking. A lot of sales places and things like that wear that. It makes you look more professional. I just want to give you some concrete stuff, okay? Because I gave you a lot of theory. Another thing that you can do, something that I did very early on, is I would wear a timer around my neck. It's kind of silly because we have timers on our phones, we have timers on our watches, but it just shows, it gives you a little presentation. It shows that you're here for fitness. You're here because you're a coach, because you take this professionally, right? So it's part of the presentation when you have a timer and you show them, hey, we're here to be serious about your fitness and I'm here for it. Another thing that you can do is have a program book or a clipboard where you write down notes about them, about their workout, right? So when you're walking around, right? This is something that I saw in other trainers and I stole it. But when you have a clipboard and you have a program sheet, or if you have a whole program book for them that you're tracking, it adds to a level of professionalism that people have not seen before, especially around fitness. So when somebody shows up to meet you for the first time, if you have a questionnaire, if you have your clipboard and you ask good questions and you're interested in them, they're going to forget everything else and they're going to go, okay, this person is serious about my fitness. And then when you take them through the assessment, when you take them through the workout, if you're writing things down and giving them feedback and you're focused and you're professional, then, they're going to see that because that's what you presented, right? So again, this is part of it is on you, part of it is on their judgment, right? The part that's on their judgment is on them. You can't change that. But are you doing enough to present yourself in the best possible light possible? Are you taking notes? Do you have questions to ask them? Are you tracking their progression? Do you have a presentation to give them when it's over? Right? Do you wear a uniform that is professional and suited for what we're about to do in the gym? Right? Do you walk with your head tall? Right? Or are you looking down? Little things like that, right? So you have to present yourself in the best light possible and then let the chips fall where they may after that. But if you start, this is why I opened with my big rant about mentality and giving into the victimhood. If you let the last person that thought that you were too young bring your energy down, change the way you dress, change the way you present yourself, change the way that you talk, change the way that you ask questions, change the fact that you take notes. If you let them change that, then now the next person is going to go, oh yeah, I see that she's too young, because now you're buying into it. You're presenting yourself in that way instead of, you have to, and this is part of sales, you have to treat every single person as the first and only person, right? You cannot let the previous person influence the next person. And that happens a lot in our fitness and our sales, our prospecting, right? Somebody says no, we think the next person's going to say no. Somebody says I'm too young, we think the next person's going to say you're too young. First person thinks, oh, I don't work out with women, you're going to think the next person doesn't want to turn. So again, you have to be real careful that you don't let the past influence negatively the future, but you can let it influence positively, right? It influenced you to ask a question. Hopefully, maybe you get a uniform now, you get a timer now, you get a clipboard now, you print out your questions now, right? You present yourself in the best possible light to the point where you can say, there's nothing I could have done more to show them that I know what I'm talking about. And what I'm saying is, only you know if that's true, right? Because again, a lot of times we complain about stuff, but we haven't done enough to cover all of our angles, to cover all of our bases, right? So we're mad that they didn't respect us, but we showed up late. We're mad that they don't respect us, but we didn't take notes. We're mad they didn't respect us, but we weren't even wearing the right equipment, right? We're mad, but we ended early. We're mad, but we didn't have the answer to the questions that they were asking, right? So really, is it really them or is it you? Again, I don't know, and maybe you don't know. So you have to work even harder to cover all of those bases, to make sure that you look in the mirror, you look at your notes, and you say, you know what? I gave it the best I've got, and there's nothing more that I could have done about it. And when you get to that point, you're going to see how things begin to change for you. But again, Not everybody says yes to training with you, but not everyone says no. And that's part of the equation as well, right? So that's a saying that I heard somebody say once, thought that was so true. This person was saying, they always tell you you can't win them all. But then they said, but they never tell you you won't lose them all either. And so I just took that to heart, and I'm sharing it with you to say, like, just because some people say no doesn't mean everyone's going to say no. You might have to work harder. You might have to prospect more people. You might have to put more ads. Might have to pass out more flyers. You might have to do more. But you can still do the best that you can, and know that you kind of gave it everything that you had. Man, last point here. Okay. Again, this is about looking at yourself in a different light. Note that I made, number 3, final note, is find your unique strengths. Okay. Not just your strengths, your unique strengths. Okay. I made an episode about this a long time ago. Some of you guys that have been following, you guys might remember, but you have to stop thinking that what the world tells you is a weakness is a weakness. So there are things that a 19-year-old knows that a 37-year-old does not know. And that is a unique strength to you, right? So you right now may be thinking, oh, I'm too young. People think I'm too young. But you know what? In being young, there are things that you can do that other people cannot do. For example, and I don't know if you have kids or not, but one of my biggest advantages that I had when I started working was that I did not have a serious relationship. I did not have a family. I was on my own. So guess what? I was able to beat out people in their 40s and 50s. Why? Because when I was in my 20s, and I have to say 20s because I started later than you, I was 23 when I became a trainer. So I can only speak to that, but 23 and 19 are not too far apart. When I was 23, I had way more time than the other trainers. So I could show up early and I could stay till 8 p.m. Sometimes Mikey, shout out to Mikey. He was in like episode 4 or 7 or something. He was kind enough when this podcast was brand new. He came over and we did an episode because I was trying to figure out what we were going to do with this podcast. But Mikey Bellini, I'm going to ask him if I can tag him on the episode. So we might add this tag on the episode. But Mike Bellini, Mikey, and I, sometimes we would stay at the gym till like midnight. We were both in our mid 20s, early 20s. We were both single guys, no family. And so we were able to beat out a lot of the competition at the gym simply because we had a strength that they didn't have. We were young, we had energy, and we had no responsibilities. And so every day, all the older guys had to leave, and Mikey and I would still prospect a few hours. We would talk to a few more people. We would get another workout in. So we were fitter and we had more people. And we were, people really knew who we were because we had the advantage of energy and of time. And so you have that. You have energy, time. You also understand all of the popular social networks that are coming up, right? Think about the extreme opposite, right? Some people are usually, we know, like older people usually are on Facebook. The rest are usually on Instagram, a little younger. And then the youngest are on TikTok. And then the other day I wrote another app down that I keep seeing. I forget what it's called, right? You probably know it. I don't know it. So you are up to date with stuff. You can edit videos on your phone better than I could, right? I still like to upload things onto my laptop and edit because I'm older. That's what I'm used to. So you can work faster. You understand how to build followership usually when you're younger. You have, and like I said, you have time and energy. So being young gives you that. It also allows you to speak to a different generation, right? So there may be people who want a trainer, but they don't want to train with the 40-year-old. A 40-year-old guy is boring. A 40-year-old guy doesn't know what I want to talk about. The 40-year-old guy doesn't watch the same shows I watch. They don't follow the same TikTokers I follow. They don't follow the same influencer I follow. You know who those people are. So there's a next generation of people coming up who also need to work out. You think that there's not a 20-year-old girl out there that needs to lose 100 pounds? Of course there is. Of course there's a girl out there. You think there's a guy out there that doesn't want to build muscle, but he feels intimidated by older muscular men? Of course. Now, some maybe feel inspired, but there are people out there who want what you have. They want you, and they're waiting for you to put your name out there. And they want you to be 19, and they want you to be a woman. right? Again, that's why I had such a big rant about our mindset earlier, because it's how you look at things. There are people out there that want a young coach. There are people out there that want a female coach. This happened at our gym just not too long ago. We just hired a new trainer. Shout out Vicky. The week before, we had a gentleman come in and he wanted to get a trainer for his daughter, but he wanted a female. So I said, we're working on it. I'll get back to you when we have it. And boom, he came back. She's training with her. A week after that, I had another email from another woman who said, I want to request a consultation. I just want to make sure I'm working with a woman. So we set that up. She's working with Brittany. So just in the last week, 2 weeks, we've had people come to our gym specifically looking to work with a female trainer. So is that different than the question you just asked? Of course, it's the opposite. Some people think you don't know anything because you're a woman. I'm over here having to hire somebody to fit according to what our clients want. I have clients requesting women only. And I got a question on the other end right now that says people don't take me seriously because I'm a woman. So what is it? Is it that some people only want to work with women, or is it that people don't want to work with a woman? That's why perspective is important. That's why talking to other people is important. That's why mindset is important, because it's what you're looking at. If you only live in your experience, maybe your experience says, oh, people aren't serious about training with women. If you look at it from my experience, I've hired 2 female trainers and I have clients who want to work only with female trainers. Now, I didn't hire the women trainers for that reason, but it all works out. I hire people based on the best possible option at the time, and they come in all packages, right? And so because they're the best and because they come in knowing that they're good and because they're confident, I have no reason to doubt them, right? So different perspective. This is why it's good to ask questions and talk to different people. I have a different perspective around people working with women than other people do, right? In my experience, people love it. People look for it. People prefer it. Some people. Just like there's some people that wouldn't like it, there's plenty that do. So find your tribe, right? Find your unique strengths. The thing that you think is a weakness or an issue may be the thing that brings you success. What if you started an all women's boot camp? What if you started an all women's gym? One of you guys is going to take this story with you, and I hope that you do. And if you do, please message me one day, because I've been saying this for a long time. There needs to be more women gyms, women owned, women run for women gyms. Okay. The big issue that women have, and the reason why a lot of women come to our gym, our private studio, is because they're tired of the gym culture. They're tired of the creepy dudes. They're tired of the smelly equipment. They're tired of the big weights slamming, right? They're tired of certain things, not all of them. Again, these things don't apply to everybody, you guys. We have to stop thinking that way. But there's a lot of women that feel uncomfortable being at the gym around these sweaty, smelly, creepy men, right? Maybe some women like it, but from my experience, most women don't. Some men don't. Shoot, I don't like to go to overly crowded, sweaty places, right? When I work out, I like to find places that are cleaner, nicer, quieter. That's my preference. I don't like to have the $20 a month membership where everybody is overcrowded waiting for the equipment, sweating on the same equipment, right? I don't like, it's not, so there's people like me. There's different things for different people. Some people love going to the gym with everyone at that hour, right? They love showing off their body. They love meeting up with their friends. They all bench press, they take turns, they're videotaping, right? There's something for everyone. So all I want you to really think about is that you can completely flip your mindset around this and realize that everything that you have that you may be thinking that right now is a con may actually be a pro. You may end up having one of the greatest all-female boot camps for women that feel like you. You may be able to create a channel that speaks to the next generation of people that are going to want somebody to teach them how to work out and show them and relate to them exactly where they're at, right? You may, I don't know, anything, right? You have to figure it out, right? There's a girl at the gym that I work out at over here. Most of her clients are older men, right? And they love her, and it seems very respectful. And she has a niche. Older men like to work with her. She's very patient. She has the workouts that they need. She works at their pace. She's fun and funny, and I think they like being with someone young like that, and someone, that is actually paying attention to them. And I just see how sweet all of their relationships are. So I don't know. She's a young woman. She has clients and they look completely different, but she's leaned into something, right? You would think all these, and they're all older white men. You would think all these older white men don't want anything to do with a woman. That's what you would think if you listen to society. And maybe it is true in a lot of the world. But from what I'm watching when I go to the gym, is every day there is another older white man working out with this girl, and they love it and they keep renewing. They do it over and over again, right? So what's the truth here? I don't know, right? That's why it's good to communicate and think differently and expand your thoughts and your web. But I really think that if you looked at who you are, you would find a lot of strengths in exactly where you are, right? Maybe it could be about being a woman. Maybe it can be around your race. Maybe it could be around a school you went to. Maybe it could be around the town that you grew up in. Maybe it can be around a show that you love. Maybe it could be around a societal issue that you are passionate about. You know, it could be about something, right? That is unique to you, that is special to you, that you can lean into and create a gigantic strength in that thing that maybe other people would say it's a weakness. Maybe something happened where you had an experience and you can speak to that experience, and other people may have also lived that experience and they'll connect with you. You are uniquely suited for certain people, right? That's the last thing that I wanted to leave you on, this positive message, right? And a different way to look at your training and yourself. There are people out there that want you exactly how you are. Age, sex, ethnicity, experiences, likes and dislikes, just how you are. There are people that are going to connect with that. So I want you to stop thinking about that part of about stop thinking about the people that didn't want to work with you for whatever reason. You don't want to work with them anyway, right? Because clearly they're ignorant, they're short-sighted. So why would you want to even surround yourself with people like that? Build a tribe around who you are, around your uniqueness, around your strengths, and around even the things that other people may see as a negative. It may be a complete positive to you. So um that's the best that I can do and give you. um you're going to be all right. As far as the age, it'll fix itself because you're always going to get older. So there's that. And as far as being a woman, I think, like I said, I hire women all the time. People request women all the time. So I think it's really just about presenting yourself in the best possible way, and then just knowing that, just like there are some people that like it, that don't like that, there are going to be plenty of people that want that same thing, right? I always give this example of just other things, right? Because I try to just pull back and look at other things, right? So I say, take for example a chocolate cake, right? Is the chocolate cake great or is it terrible? It just depends who you ask. That's the answer. The cake itself is neither good or bad. It's just, who do you ask? And so as coaches, as people, sometimes it's that simple, right? Is being a young female trainer good or bad? Well, it depends who you ask. Some people think it's awesome. Some people think it's not, right? So it's up to you to, like I said, present yourself in the best way. Know that you're educated. Know that you're kind. Know that you present in a great way. Know that you're as professional, as knowledgeable as possible. Know that you're hardworking and harder working than the next person. Know that you have goals and dreams and ambitions. Know that you're going to keep growing, and know that there are people out there that are going to want what you have to offer. And if you can know all those things, then you can ignore the noise and keep moving forward and make the best of it. Because I've seen it, you know, people going through the exact same thing. All of them have been able to acquire a group of followers, a clientele. You know, you just sometimes go through a couple of bad people, but it's like anything, dating, eating, not every place you eat is the perfect place for you. Not every person you date is the perfect person for you. So for them, not every person that they train with is the perfect trainer for them. that's just how it goes. As good as I like to think that I am at what I do, and as much as you guys follow the podcast, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret. Not everybody signs up. Not everybody has said yes to me forever, you know? And I'm the one that's hosting this thing, and I get rejected. I get told no. I get, sometimes I'm not for them. Sometimes my gym isn't for them. We've had people that come in and they're like, "Oh, why is it blue? Why don't you have this way? Why do you have metal weights? Why don't you have rubber weights?" Right? It's like they don't like it. But if you ask the other clients that have been there for years, they would say, "Oh, that's what I love about this place. I love that it's blue. I love that they have metal weights. I love that it's on this street," right? So, who do you ask? Right? But what am I going to do? Worry about the few people that think that the gym is too small or too bright or too dark or what, or too loud or too quiet? I mean, what am I going to do? Change for every person? I think that this works for the majority of people, and so that's what I present, and I let the people that don't love it, then I don't love them either. It's just that simple. So I appreciate your question today. I know that it was a lot of just theory, a lot of thinking and stuff like that, but I hope you guys find some nugget of just perspective shifting. For me, it's more about making you think, right? So I talk in these general terms sometimes just so that you can process it through whatever situation you're going through, so um that is a little bit more about kind of things I've seen and lived through, especially around this topic here. So yeah, I know it's tough. You're not the first person that I've talked to about this. Like I said earlier, it is tough. I do understand that it's tough. Um, but and I know that I don't have all the answers to that. It might not be the perfect answer that you wanted, and I apologize, but it's the best that I could do for now. So I hope that that's helpful. If you guys have any questions, go to personaltrainerhustle.com. You guys can send in your own questions. We'll turn it into an episode just like today. And again, make sure to follow me on Instagram. Send me a message at personal trainer hustle. All right. And I will talk to you guys soon.